Hello everyone, in today's video, I am going to show you famous footballers you didn't expect to still playing. Hakim Ziyech is 32 years old, and he is playing for Al Dahel SC. Aubameyang is 35 years old, and he is playing for Al Qadsiya. Marco Verratti is 32 years old, and he is playing for A Arabi SC. Lionel Messi is 37 years old, and he is playing for Inter Miami CF. Cristiano Ronaldo is 40 years old, and he is playing for Al Nassr FC. Olivier Giroud is 38 years old, and he is playing for Los Angeles FC. Kazuyoshi Miura is 58 years old, and he is playing for Atletico Suzuka. Dimitri Payet is 38 years old, and he is playing for Vasco da Gama. Aaron Ramsey is 34 years old, and he is playing for Cardiff City. Jerome Boateng is 36 years old, and he is playing for LASK. Nabil Fekir is 31 years old, and he is playing for Al Jazeera. David Luiz is 37 years old, and he is playing for Fortaleza. Radamel Falcao is 39 years old, and he is playing for Millonarios FC. Sergio Ramos is 39 years old, and he is playing for CF Monterrey. Thiago Silva is 40 years old, and he is playing for Fluminense FC. Hulk is 38 years old, and he is playing for Atletico Mineiro. Arturo Vidal is 37 years old, and he is playing for Colorado. Jesse Lingard is 32 years old, and he is playing for FC Seoul. Lorenzo Insigne is 33 years old, and he is playing for Toronto FC. Ivan Perisic is 36 years old, and he is playing for PSV Eindhoven. Matthew Valbuena is 40 years old, and he is playing for Athens Kalathea. Ivan Rakiti is 37 years old, and he is playing for Hajduk Split. Pepe Reina is 42 years old, and he is playing for Fluminense FC. Juan Mata is 36 years old, and he is playing for Western Sydney. Edinson Cavani is 38 years old, and he is playing for CA Boca Juniors. Xherdan Shaqiri is 33 years old, and he is playing for FC Basel 1893. Diego Costa is 38 years old. Marco Reyes is 35 years old, and he is playing for LA Galaxy. Guillermo Ochoa is 39 years old, and he is playing for AUS Football. Rajan Angolan is 36 years old, and he is playing for KSC Lokeren. Philippe Coutinho is 32 years old, and he is playing for Vasco da Gama. Steven Nzonzi is 36 years old, and he is playing for Sepahan. Luis Suarez is 38 years old, and he is playing for Inter Miami CF. Miralem Pjanic is 35 years old, and he is playing for CSKA Moscow. Memphis Depay is 31 years old, and he is playing for Corinthians. Keylor Navas is 38 years old, and he is playing for CA Newell's OB. Chicharito is 36 years old, and he is playing for Guadalajara. Lucas Podolski is 39 years old, and he is playing for Gornik Zabrze. Santi Cazorla is 40 years old, and he is playing for Real Oviedo.